Obesity and aging. We hear a lot about, the adverse effects of obesity, the risk it puts you at as far as your health is concerned, and the stress on the body. I could go through an endless list of the things that obesity does to people, from diabetes type 2, hypertension, stress to the joints, cardiovascular disease, and just a lot of systemic processes in the body that are a result of being overweight, that are going to put you in your grave prematurely, well before your time, or well before it's necessary. Nobody lives forever. So the purpose of this video is just to get some older people to start thinking. And now for me, I'm 46 years old, still in pretty decent shape for a 46-year-old man, 46 and a half. So I'm not too far away. In a few years, I'll be 50, half a century. So for me, this video is not to hate on people that are overweight or obese, and it's not to make fun of fat people. Quite the contrary. I've known people growing up, and they were individuals who they've always struggled with their weight. But that being said, I've seen them turn it around and gain control over that situation where they managed it and achieved a level of health and fitness later in life. And they did the best they could with what they had to work with. We're all different, bone structure, genetic differences, or rather genetic expressions is different for people for different characteristics, and that's true. But it's not an excuse to live your life in denial. It's not an excuse to ignore risk factors that put you at a higher risk for premature, getting disease, premature disability. And what do I mean when I say premature disability? Eventually, as you age and get older, you're going to developmentally, as a process of aging, you can, you're just not going to be the same anymore. You're not going to be the same when you're 75, 80 as you were when you're 25. You're going to, be at a, more risk for certain things. And that's just the nature of life. That doesn't mean we can't do things to live a better quality of life, to be optimal for as long as possible. You can be strong, you can keep your bone mineral density, your bones dense and thick through strength training. You don't have to have osteoporosis, osteopenia, those types of things, especially for women who are at a higher risk as they get older because of changes in hormones. So I want to ask a question as to get you to think. The power of our youth is that, our bodies recover faster. They restore, regenerate a lot faster when we're younger. We put a lot of miles when we're younger because that's just our youth. We get over things quicker. But as you age, if you don't change things are going to happen differently. You'll find that you don't recover as fast. You're gaining weight because you continue to eat the same way you did in your 20s, and now you're in your 30s, late 30s, in your 40s, and before you know it, you're 100 pounds overweight. So let me ask you this. As far as obesity and being overweight, how many people do you know that are in their mid-50s, almost approaching 60 years old, who weigh around 300 pounds? Think about that for a little while I add to this blog that I'm speaking about right now as far as the obesity. The reason I bring this up is because when I was younger, in the 80s, growing up, I was, like I said, I'm 46, almost 47. There were people who weighed 300 pounds or more, but that wasn't like something that was very common, at least not when I was growing up. You did see some bigger individuals, and it was like an exception, like, wow, this dude weighs 300 pounds. It's like a really big deal. But these days, it's more and more common to where it's like, yeah, there's a bunch of people who are overweight who weigh around 300 pounds. And it's just amazes me. And there's a lot of things that can be said about our culture and the convenience of life and a lot of things that have contributed to this. But to stay on topic, I recently worked with an individual for a place I was working at, and this guy's 55 years old, he's about roughly 10 and a half years older than myself. Looked, not to be mean, but this looked horrible. You could tell that he's hurting, And he had told me, at work, he's like, I went to my physical, and my doctor told me that I need to lose weight. And, I politely, asked, well, how much do you weigh? And he said, I weigh 300 pounds, a bit over 300 pounds. And I was just like shocked, it's like, because I knew he was overweight, but, I didn't realize he was quite that heavy. Some people carry it differently, so it can surprise you when you find out how much they actually weigh. So here's a guy who's sedentary, eats sausage and egg burgers or biscuits for breakfast every morning, fast food for lunch. The guy is just, throws caution to the wind, eats anything and everything, and superficially pretends like he needs to do something about a situation. But in all seriousness, he's not really motivated to change his behavior, his lifestyle. He's going to keep doing the same thing. Now, the same individual at work, we were asked if we could help move some furniture, down the hallway. And it was just chairs. I'm talking just regular chairs you would use to seat people if they were at a hotel room, a convention area for to listen to a speaker, just chairs. They were not that heavy. So we were moving these chairs down the hallway, and I kid you not, this guy started breathing heavy. His breathing was very labored, and I was like getting concerned. It was scary, this guy's gonna drop dead on me. So the point is, when you're that heavy and that big, your body's already under a lot of stress. Your knees, in joints and so on. This person already had a knee replacement surgery that he had told me about. So the point is, a person who is sedentary, sitting down at work, if they don't change anything, that age, 55, over 300 pounds, it's not likely they have a long time to live. I don't see somebody like that living another 10 years, less than 10 years. You look at the CDC, look at other websites related to obesity type topics, look at mortality and these types of things, systemically how things can tie in, secondary to being obese, heart disease, and so on. Go. There's a lot of information out there, and that's a separate video. But when you look at that, the fact of the matter is, someone in that category does not have a very good probability they're going to live very long. So when I see people in this situation, I see someone who has a short amount of time, and it's sad. And, we can talk about cognitive dissonance, magical thinking, rationalization, why people will maintain lifestyles that are keeping them where they're at. And I'm talking about people who have families, children, responsibilities, who are in this situation. And I'm going to speak to that issue here a little more. So my point is, back to my question, how many people do you know who are, in their early 50s, mid 50s, almost 60, who weigh 300 pounds or more? I know where I live in South Texas, we're number one, at least the last time the statistics came out, number one in the nation for obesity and diabetes. A lot of people who, due to being sedentary and becoming overweight later in life, are developing diabetes type 2. It's lifestyle issues. I've seen people who I've helped through exercise and nutrition lose weight, become symptom-free, and no longer have diabetes type 2. So lots of that down here where I live. So for me, objectively speaking, within my circles in life, I don't know anybody who weighs 300 pounds who's around 60 years old or almost 60. And there's a reason for that if you think about it. Because people who are that obese and overweight, who are sedentary, eating whatever the hell they want, they're dead by that point. They're not making it to 60. And I don't say that just to sound like, just unempathetic or just, have no compassion or anything like that. I'm just stating a fact. And I say this, for people who might be watching this video, if you're somebody who's around my age, you'll be 50 in a few years, and you're around 300 pounds, quit kidding yourself. Don't live in denial. You are not any different, generally speaking, than anyone else in the human race. There's differences as a result of hereditary in our genetics and how we can respond to things, and that's true. But across the board, doesn't matter who you are. If you have an unhealthy lifestyle, unhealthy behaviors, eating poorly, being overweight, smoking cigarettes, throw that one in there. There's a lot of things you can do. It's going to adversely affect your health. It's going to damage your potential. It's going to shorten your life. I don't care who you are. There are exceptions. You'll hear about some people that live to be 90 years old and they smoke cigarettes, but I guarantee you they weren't overweight. It's probably some skinny person who lasted that long And the exception is not, representative of the rule for pretty much most of the population. So it's something to think about as you get older. For me, my opinion is that it is selfish to not try to take care of yourself. Now, some people, I already know what they're going to say, well, it's my life. Who are you to tell me what I can do with my life? If I want to burn the candlestick at both ends and I die young and early, that's my business. And you know what? We live in a free country, and you're right. It's not against the law to abuse your health and your life and to die young because of a disease brought on prematurely or unduly because of your lifestyle and being overweight. But I will say this, most people have somebody that they care about, and somebody who cares about them. It might be your spouse, you might be someone who's married, you could be someone who's taking care of your elderly parents, or you're someone who other people have a relationship with you. They depend on you, you depend on them. So when you don't take care of yourself, if you have a stroke, you start to experience some type of disabilities later, early in life. I've seen people in their 40s, 50s who become very dependent on their family because they can't take care of themselves anymore because of disease, obesity, disability, those types of things that were preventable. So when that happens, you're putting an undue stress upon your family and other people who care about you. Naturally, it probably will try to help you and take care of you because they love you and they're your family. But if you love them too, why would you want to put them through that if it's preventable and unnecessary? If anything, if you love them and care about them, you want to stay as strong and healthy as long as possible to where you can have more of an impact on their lives to be there for them. I guarantee you, if you are sickly and lose independence and you can barely take care of yourself, you're not going to be there for other people the way you'd want to. And I do understand there's things can happen in life that are not your fault, and I'm not talking about that. Yes, people can get things and diseases like cancer. They can get things that were congenital or things that are not their fault, and that's true. And that's not what this video is about. What I'm talking about are modifiable risk factors. And basically what a modifiable risk factor is something that is preventable. You don't have to do it. You don't have to start smoking cigarettes. And if you smoke cigarettes, you don't have to keep doing it. You can stop. If you can't do it on your own, you can get help to stop. You don't have to eat like shit and abuse your body. Money's not an excuse. Time's not an excuse. It is a huge lie. It's a misrepresentation to say it's too expensive to eat healthy and you don't have time. There's always time. I guarantee you, whatever you like doing in your life that's important to you, you make time to do it. It's about what you value and what's important to you. And if you're eating unhealthy, I promise you, you're investing your time, money, energy, and resources to do that too. So it's a matter of flipping the situation. So it's not enough to say, of course I care about my health. It's not enough to say that. Your behavior needs to reflect that. So this is my 2 cents about this topic in this video. I'm talking philosophically, behaviorally about where people get at in life as they get older. When you're younger, it's a different situation, but as you get older, the stakes become higher. Nobody lives forever, but it's about your quality of life for as long as possible, maintaining your independence, and taking responsibility for the things that you can do. It's not just about you, it's about the people around you in your life. And a better you is better for everybody in this world. So that's my 2 cents. If you have any questions or comments you want to leave down below, or something you think that I should have said that I didn't, fine, put it in this video, because this is not going to be a very long video, as for the time that I have. But I make other videos that are more specific, where I can talk about things more specifically in detail. This is more just my opinion about, as you get older, start thinking about the consequences of your actions, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when if you don't change your behavior. So take care, have happy holidays, and God bless.